There you are. Welcome. Welcome. Let's see. Gotta fix this. I thought I had it all just right. And then I changed a couple things, and you know how that goes. Change one thing, and then other things fall into line. So let's see. We've got Carol Walters in. Thank you. First in the house. I appreciate it, Carol. Good evening, and good evening to everybody else. So we've got Kaylee and Kaylee, Alex, Wonder and Alex Land, my son. And I'm so happy you're here. I really have been thinking about, let's see here. I agree with you, Alex Wonderland. Good son. And I agree with you, Alex Wonderland. Good son. He's a great son 99 and 9/10 of the time. Okay. He's fixing the camera, as a matter of fact, as we speak. I don't know. So, how is everybody else's? What date is this? I know I had it up in my head. May 18th, 2023. How is it going for you? Because it's been a busy one for me. How's that, Alex? Are you feeling good about it?
Well, yeah, I think so. I'm just trying to make sure that you're not fuzzy.
Fuzzy? Okay, so I'm many things. Really, I'm many things. Fuzzy, and remind your father.
Here we go.
Fuzzy's not usually one of them. Alex got to tighten up the 1%. I hear you, Kaylee. All right. So again, how is it in your neck of the woods? I know Kaylee is in.
Camera just to turn it on or sign on.
I did turn it on, Alex. I like to be wearing what he's wearing right now. To be honest with you, I like it. I like that. I'm not normally animal printish. I'm not normally printish, but I do like that animal print right there.
I love it.
All right, so we're going to do a lot of news today, and I want to make sure I can see everything well. There's a lot going on in the world, and it's not just the world. It is right here in my own hometown, Eugene. Well, I've said it so much. He hates it when I say it, but my hometown, and love big cat person. I'm a big cat person. And actually, Richard and I were talking about this yesterday.
Oh, can I interrupt you to tell them about the big cat thing we're going to do? Or is that a surprise?
Well, that'll be a surprise, Brent.
Well, we got a
Alex.
big cat thing coming up.
Eventually, coming up. Yes.
A big cat.
A big cat thing coming up. Alfonso, welcome to you. So glad you're here. I hope things are great in Colorado. And that everybody is not overheating. Our heat is down. We were right up near at 100 degrees in March. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how it is in other parts of the country, but 100, 95 isn't normal for Eugene, Oregon, for the Willamette Valley. So Richard and I were driving a couple of days ago. We took a little drive. Got a little bit of footage that I'm going to put into a content form. And we were driving up what's called River Road. And most of River Road is pretty in the country. And it parallels, it's just like where I live, it's not far from where I live. Steady 60 to 65. Oh, that's good. We're like about 77 today, which is, I'm inside, so I can't tell. I've got an AC in here. So it's not bad. So we were driving on River Road. Richard grew up for a big chunk of his life off of River Road, down this dirt road that goes, I would say, I'd estimate a mile. And years ago, he was taking me to show me where he had grown up in that period of his life. And we went to the end of the road, and there is a big cat sanctuary there of some sort. They had lions. Um, they had, oh, I don't know what all they had. I don't know if they had tigers, but they had big, big cats. I'm not talking just cougars. They had big fencing up, tall fencing that went inwards, cupped inwards like they do in a prison with barbed wire and razor wire all around it. I mean, it was a tall fence, I would say 25 feet high. And so yesterday, or it was 2 days ago, we were driving and I said, let's go see if the big cats are still there. I love animals. I love cats. And he didn't want to go down there. I'll just have, he just said, not today. I'd rather not go down today. I think he was wanting to get home and deal with this pain. So we didn't go down, but I will go down there. It's not like I'm going to, where was this again? This is in River Road. It's off River Road in Eugene, on a road called Maple Drive. You could probably look that up with Google Earth. Maple Drive in Eugene, Oregon, and see what's at the end of the road. It was a big cats, and I'm thinking, I know Tippi Hedren had a wildlife reserve or has one. Is she still alive? Shambhala. Yes. Also, there was one in. I can't remember if it was near Los Angeles or more northern. And when I was 18, I wanted to go there and. Well, thank you, Alex.
Well, that's noticeable. But you had like a little thing from your mascara.
Oh, well, no, I'm having some furry stuff on my eyelashes for some reason this afternoon. Can't think of the name of it, but it had to close a couple of years ago. She would trained there for years. I do. I have some little something that's driving me crazy, and I'm trying to not deal with it. And so I don't know. I think it was called the Wildlife. I can't think of the name of it. I hate it that when I don't remember things. So I love big cats. And I am fuzzy. I am fuzzy. All right. So we'll go there and see if it's still there eventually. But we're not far. Well, we're about 2 hours, an hour and a half from about an hour and a half from both north going to the Oregon Zoo, south going to Wildlife Safari, and 2 hours west at the coast to the aquarium, which, by the way, the aquarium, or excuse me, I think all three of those places have special entrance fees for people who are on any kind of assistance. If you're disabled, if you're on food stamps, for certain, if you're on food stamps, they give you quite a large break. And that is, I'm assuming, so that people, just because you're poor financially doesn't mean that you shouldn't have access to cultural things. And I believe that is micro national. Yeah, we're going to do micro and national media. All right. So anyways, we will be making plans. We are making plans for all of those wonderful facilities. And so I am looking forward. And before we get into the news, a little something funny. You see this big cup? I've had one of these for decades, a couple decades. This is not like the same one for decades, but I had I had one, and I was carrying it into a building where I frequented almost on a daily basis for social reasons. And I had, the lid was on it, and it had handheld. It had a little handle on it. And I go walking in there, and the coffee cup catches the side of the door frame. It all goes flying into the building without the cup attached to it. The cup dropped and just the top blew off, and it was a mess. So, hello, Lily. Thank you so much for coming. I'm glad you're here. Society benefits from everyone having, yes, ma'am. And children, parents who have less financial means have the ability to take their children or the children in their care and custody to these facilities. So, yeah, that's what I was going to share. All right, so let's talk about some things. I'm going to talk about some micro news, what Plaren referred to as micro news, and that's what's going on in Oregon. I was hoping that my sister Priscilla would be in here by the time I started this part of the story. I'm not going to say I have. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you're having a bad day, dear. I hope that you you can turn it around. Cultural awareness is a buffer against hate. Amen. Amen. I agree too. Josh, my son-in-law, was just telling me when he was a kid, a youngster. I don't know how old some of you are. I'm 61, so I'm probably older than anybody in the house. However, and additionally, there is a movie called, oh my gosh. It's because I wanted to tell you. Travel Dreamer 46, welcome. Thank you for coming. Glad you're here. So anyways, I will just say the movie was about dating. It was about this woman. She dated. This was probably back in the 80s, this movie. And a travel grandma Charlotte. Thank you for coming. Thank you so much. She went date. I believe it was New York. I think she was in New York or Los Angeles. It was one or the other. And if I was not looking at a camera, I bet you I could remember it. I think of this movie all the time because I think it should be played for kids in high school. Looking for Mr. Goodbar. Raise your hand and say hi, thumbs up, whatever you want to do if you have seen that movie. It is a very raw movie about the potential consequences for, I'm going to say the best way to explain this is not a lot of filters for dating and hanging out with people. And this was a female. So in that time, it was men. So the movie doesn't end well. And it's an ugly end, by the way. He said when he was young, his parents, they lived in New York City. So he got to go to plays from childhood on up. And he mentioned a couple plays that I'm like, are you serious? You're 8 years old and your parents took you to that? So they also took him to see Looking for Mr. Goodbar. And he wasn't of age to be needing to see Looking for Mr. Goodbar. You think take me? No. And if my email, if you want to email me, I'd be glad to give you my phone number. And if you ever want to call, with 28 years of sobriety, I've been through a few things. Well, actually, I've been working the program of recovery for nearly 40 years, and I did let something take me back out. 12 years sober. So I then turned it around within 6 months and got back on that horse and rode this baby to 28 years. So my email is right available, and I will put it up in a banner. And if you want to leave me a note, I can give you my phone number. I have been through a lot, Lily. I know a few things. I have a few tricks up my sleeve. So I don't know. I feel good. All right. So no Priscilla. Priscilla's my sister. I was really hoping she would be here for this part of it, for Oregon especially, but she's not. So we're going on without her. We don't need her anyways. No, I love there's my little sister. Hello. I just said I was waiting for you to talk about this part, Priscilla. We are lifelong Oregonians, and that horse will never run from me. I guarantee. I can pretty much guarantee it. You know, all good alcoholics never say we're never going to drink again. I'm pretty clear in my own mind. I'm not going to, and that's where it matters. So, oh, good. I'm good. So I was hoping you were here. All right. So, micro news, as Polarians put it. So I'm going to be sharing the screen here. This is where a lot's going on. Okay, lots going on. This is some Oregon stuff. And I'm going to start off with this right here. All right, make sure that we are on the screen together. Okay. Now, do I think this is ever going to come to fruition for the Greater Oregon or Greater Idaho movement? I do not think it's going to come to fruition for them. However, they've made a lot of progress. So what it is, if you're not aware, there is a group of people that live on the east side of Oregon, and they're tired of the Oregon politics. They're a very conservative group, and they have won. So we just had an election. There was a couple things that mattered. One was a bill to continue to support police and services for minors who get into trouble, including care, counseling and whatnot, for all groups of people. And so anyways, that was one thing that mattered. And that was local to Eugene, and it passed. And then there was a couple of other things. This was not on our ballot because it's never, they will put, I don't know if they'll even get it on our ballot. They just need 14 counties or 12 counties in Oregon. And then Idaho and Oregon can have a conversation, the legislatures. They are one county shy at this point. And but this is what it looks like. This is how many counties. Now, let me explain to those who might be new. And I don't think anybody's new, but I'm just going to reiterate it. This is not the majority of the citizenry of Oregon. This is simply the majority of the counties in Oregon. Okay? The majority of the counties in Oregon want the change. This one that's kind of right here on the border called Deschutes County. It really is it's a pretty liberal area for being on the east of the Cascades, because that's the cutoff. Right down this is the Cascades. We're on the west and they're all on the east. And so so they just need to get one more, and I think they may have made it. So let's just take a look. Let's take a real quick look. So that's what it is. Oh, they're going to tell us right here. So the Greater Oregon Idaho movement feels confident that their measure has won the Wallowa County election, even though results as of 2 p.m. today only showed their measure ahead with 50.3% of the vote. Since the movement's first election 6 election cycles ago, it had averaged 62% in favor, and they just have not finished the count, and 38% opposed, a ratio of 1.63 to 1. So Wallowa County right now is the one that they're looking at. So it's moving. My point is it's continuing to gain momentum. Here's why it will never happen. I think they're simply just, I wish these two governors could sit down together for coffee or cocktails or lunch or a barbecue with the Greater Idaho movement people and hear them out. In my opinion, see, if I were the governor of Oregon, that's exactly what I would do. First of all, I would get the leaders of this movement. I would get together for a barbecue, probably in Bend, and I would say, let's talk about this. What can we do to bring you back to Oregon? So I'm not governor. never going to be governor, but that's something I would do. And I mean that seriously. Why not talk to the leaders? All righty. Let's get rid of that. Does anybody live in a place they'd like to have moved? I mean, that's pretty dramatic, don't you think? To move an entire half of a state, to think that's going to happen. And I'd like you to look right up here on my overlay. I'm now over 1,500. I'm a 1507. 1507. Let's see. Priscilla. Yes, I guess if you want to deal with terrorists. Okay. Are you insinuating all of Idaho is terrorism or terrorists? I'm curious. I'm not trying to start trouble with you. I can't believe I made that mistake. Because I don't think they are. I'm just going to go out on a ledge right here and say I do not believe that all of Idaho are terrorists. I wish Eastern Washington would move to Idaho. Okay. So Washington has some things going on too that I think there's people, because there's always both sides to any particular issue. And what I think happens is once something affects people more directly, they're willing to look at a solution. That's what I think and believe. It's not that I don't care. So what might be happening in New Hampshire particularly isn't on my radar, because if it's not affecting me, I'm probably not paying close attention to it. It's my experience that most people pay attention to the things that affect them in life. Pretty much. Just get up and move. Don't take land. That is calling people terrorists is clown word stuff. All right, so let's just maybe make an agreement here that we're not going to call anybody names. So terrorist was way above what I think. There are some people there that are not like there are probably in a few other places in the country, or potentially in any state. There are some not good people, and nor is it a clown comment. Clown world stuff. Terrorist is clown world stuff. No, because there are some noted and notable anti-American people who live there. Anti-people who live there, okay? Anti-people who believe remotely differently who live there. And that's crap. And so, anyways, I can't be here for this. My apologies. I don't like Oregon politics, but I love the state I was born and raised in. All right. Well, my goal is to keep it friendly, Lily, but if you're having a bad day, no matter what, you do what you have to do to take care of yourself. And yeah, there's going to be some politics talked here today because it's just part of what's happening in the world and that is affecting everybody. It may not be affecting your very world in the moment. And hello, Paula. Thank you for stopping in. Very happy to see you here. One of our friends up north, if you don't know, Paula, wonderful channel, wonderful woman, as a matter of fact. All right. Kaylee, I've lived in 2 states and have those arguments. Same in South Jersey, have wanted to secede from New Jersey to be its own entity, South Jersey. All right. So here's one of the problems with Oregon doing that. So let's say they got to the point that they got all the counties they needed and they got together with the Oregon legislatures. They met and they said, you know what? We are tired of Eastern Oregon, so you can have them. We're tired of them. We don't want their tax money. They own a lot of land there, but we don't want their tax money because we don't want to hear their bitches and complaints. Excuse the bad words. It's what it is. We bitch and complain about things because if we don't like it. Okay. So we're going to let them go. So Oregon and Idaho, let's just say they agree. Idaho gets the lot of Eastern Oregon. Guess who else has to weigh in on it? And I highly doubt that's going to happen. It's the U.S. Congress. So that would be the House and the Senate and the U.S. Congress, because we're bicameral, have to say, yay. Do you think they're going to do that? Because that sets a precedent for other places like Jersey and Timbuktu, who doesn't like Timbuk one, to have an argument for secession. So Oregon's I can tell you, yes, they've made progress. That group of people are working their butts off to separate the two sides of Oregon, of the Cascades. It's not going to happen because that would be stupid of them to do it, because it's never going to get through Congress. All right. Are you agreeing with me? Love you too, Lily. And like I said, you can have my phone number if you want to. Just drop me a line on my email, and I will be glad to give you a call. All right, Stephen, New York. Long Island seems like a weird, honestly, why? I want to come to New York really bad. Some say the UP in Michigan is aligned with Wisconsin. So maybe it is. And guess what? There's going to be people in every state that have difference of opinions politically. So on one side, I live in a household where I live in a family. Let's go to my family. I live in a family where I'm the only independent conservative. Okay. Now, that is not to say that my family and I differ on most issues. I will say that my sister and I, Priscilla and I, we agree on almost everything. We just disagree about the road to get there. And everybody's going to have kind of some difference of opinions on the road, the avenue they think is the best. I would be happy if one of our senators could be elected by the conservative east side of the state, but we don't. The west side elects both senators, neither of whom care about us. I don't understand how your state works, Charlotte. I don't understand. So I know a little bit about how that's all broken up, at least in my state. And, if you live in an area that's predominantly conservative, let's just say, because it sounds like that's kind of the same way it is here in Oregon. Let's say you're conservative. And I showed you all those counties that are very conservative. They have voted in, we have a conservative or two in the state who are representatives. It's very small. It is a very small minority. Travel Dreamer, big note. Priscilla. Here's a novel idea. Run some candidates they feel represent them. They can actually be voted in. That's how it's done. Well, I don't know, Priscilla. Maybe Washington has a little. So here in Oregon, there's a certain, for every certain amount of people, areas get representation. And I'd have to pull that up, and I don't really have the time to do that, but that's how it's done. And that's what happens, though, is people start feeling left out, denied representation, and they go the other direction. I'll tell you, a lot of people move. I know that Oregon lost, I think, 16,000 people this last year. The biggest that's ever happened. And there's reasons for that. I think, think about California. Well, California is huge with the amount of people they have. The population is very large. I think it's the largest in the nation for population. I think it would be that or New York, but I do believe that Los Angeles really makes up the majority of the country. Oh gosh, that last comment, I lost my train of thought. So anyway, you have to find out how it works and start gather. So here's an idea. Like my sister said, here's an idea. Start talking to other people who you have similar beliefs with, who want to see a conservative elected potentially, Start talking to people. I promise there are people in the state of Washington who are conservative, maybe centrist conservatives, that can get elected. Seriously, it's just a matter of finding that person who people like, can relate to, is not dogmatic, unless you're in a really dogmatic area. And we're kind of in the Pacific Northwest, but not hopefully 100% in either state. All right. My thoughts are just, why do they got to make it so complex to move a virtual state borderline? Well, why do you think? What do you think is the main reason? Come on, it is not hard. Really. So let's say they moved Oregon's borders. Let's say they broke us down the Cascade line. And Eastern Oregon, all of Eastern Oregon, which is what it looks like other than Bend, wants to go to Idaho. And, the rest of us here in the I-5 corridor, and that's what it is, I-5 corridor, wants to stay in Oregon. Do you know how much land is over there? And by the way, there's jobs. And by the way, there are people's lives. Okay. And so the state's not just going to give up the kind of land involved in this and the income taxes. So that's not, and again, the fact of the matter is, what affects one state affects other states, even though it may not seem like it. Oh my goodness. Imagine the serious complications. I was thinking a different terminology, but I will not say it. I'm going to say serious complications that would happen if one state was allowed to split down the middle because one side didn't like the other. Never going to happen. So, but it's news, and I think that it's interesting, to be honest with you. It is how it works. It's just like Oregon. The biggest population is in Puget Sound area. Okay. They have a bigger population than the whole East. Oh, I absolutely imagine. So my oldest sister, who passed a few years back, she and her husband moved there pretty soon into their marriage and lived in Tacoma. He worked in communications for Weyerhaeuser all of his career. And so I've been in that area many times in my life. And yes, I do know it is the biggest, and it's a bit, obviously the biggest voting bloc. So somehow there has to be a message politically. And I'm going to say the dirty word, politically, that resonates with center-minded people on both sides. I will use me as the example because, I've been pretty upfront about myself with y'all. So I'm a conservative. I'm a conservative liberal. Okay. I'm a conservative liberal. So a centrist. I believe healthcare is a right. I do. I believe healthcare is a right. I believe that people shouldn't have to die in any state because they can't get anything but emergent health care. Because, there are a lot of situations that you don't know, and I don't know about what might put a person in a situation where they don't have the money to buy health care, where they don't have the money to buy medication. I can't imagine anybody sitting in this. I lost somebody, but that's all right. I can't imagine anybody, the seven of us sitting in this room right now, who believes anybody, be it a child, a poor working person, a middle class working person who is, working their butts off to make a living and ends up falling ill. Unintentionally. Nobody gets ill or gets injured intentionally. I can tell you, it is not worth it if you do. And they should not suffer as a result. That's my opinion about that, and that's why deep held belief. And I know that there are conservatives, so I do believe, as a person who I'm on Medicaid, I don't pay for my health care. That's not to say I haven't paid into this overall system in my life, because I have. But when I became at the worst, I couldn't work. I can't work. I'm not able to work now. Sometimes you look at me, I'm sure, and you go, oh, right, Lucretia, you could work. Well, it is not uncommon that I spend 2 to 4 days a week, for the most part, in bed, literally in my pajamas, in bed. That's why my channel is, suffered, because I just don't have the energy to put into it. So if I were to be employed by somebody, how many days a week will I be able to call in and say, I can't walk today because the pain is too great? I can't sit in a chair today because the pain is too great. After this video, I will be going to the store, and then I will be coming straight home and going to bed. I already know, because I know what the compression is like. So when we look at people, I learned many long time ago. It did not because of me, but I learned a long time ago, because of life, that I have to be careful when I start judging your life. So I believe that, for instance, that is something that people should have a right to. Okay, let's see where we are. They became disenfranchised. Yes, disenfranchised. They could move to a state that better represents them. That's true too. That's true too. I'll tell you, there are a lot of people I know now who are moving to different, to counties in Arizona, because they can get land really cheap and live off grid. And there's snow, Priscilla, if you live up around Williams, or if you live in Concho, which is where Camper Van Kevin lives. Concho, Arizona. He stayed there this winter. I saw it. There's snow. Yes, there will be rattlesnakes this summer, but we have rattlesnakes here too. But anyways, my point is you can, there are places in Arizona where you could buy a piece of land very cheaply, put a tiny house on it. Kevin has 2 or 3, Kaylee, an ungodly amount. No, really. He has a nice setup. You get yourself a big water tank, have the water delivered in. He's even got a darn hot tub in Concho, Arizona. He did put it away for winter, so the pipes wouldn't freeze up because couldn't use it. Anyways, so I'm saying, I also know of another person who's living in East Tennessee somewhere, and they had been on the road for a couple of years, and they bought property there. I don't really care for the guy. I watch some of this stuff because he's got some good information, but he's not my cup of tea. I'm not pretty sure I'm not his cup of tea either. So I watch it, get some good information. But he built himself a tiny house. It's like, I don't know how long it is, but right on the back of a trailer that was left there. They took the trailer house off of it because it was no good. It's not even a trailer house. It was a camper. It was something. I can't remember. Anyways, and then he built on top of it. And he has a well. So he uses solar. There is electricity running right above his property, but he is not tied into the grid for a reason. He doesn't need to be. He does not need to be. And he has generator backup, grows his own chickens, and so blah, blah, blah. Their Constitution. What about the Constitution, Priscilla? Oh, yeah. Obviously there is a Constitution. Oregon has a Constitution, just like we have a national one or a federal one. Any resident of Oregon and anyone affected should pay very close attention to the likely flow of money. Follow the money was a basic tenet of most of my law classes. Amen, Kaylee. And so we just had an election. This is not my election ballot, but it's the election ballot of a family member who did not sign his ballot. And so it didn't go in. But what I did when I'm just simply using it to show, to show it. Now we have mail-in voting, which I am, by the way, I'm for mail-in voting. It's worked beautifully in Oregon, and I can make sure I can check and see if my ballot was counted. I can go on and be sure that my ballot was counted. So what I did is I looked at every one of these. So it was very small. So for instance, we're in what's called Bethel School District, and they needed some board of director people. And so before I voted, I looked at every one that was on here for me to choose from. And I chose the one, and Richard chose the one that best suits our beliefs and our concerns. And he won. 2 out of 3 that I voted for that were new won. One incumbent stayed in place. That's fine. I voted for two people with new blood. They're younger people that I did the background work on. Even as far back as the what was it? Water. What is it here? There's Lane Community College, Lane Education. Oh, but I don't vote. I do unless I know them. Fire Authority. I didn't vote because they have nobody running against them. Santa Clara Water District, the same thing. I'm not going to waste. I don't like that. I can't believe that there's nobody to run against these people. Anyway, so, and then our renewal of jail and youth services levy, which I voted to renew. So that's it for that. Public disclosures. Absolutely. Yes. All right. So we're going to go on. We'll look at something else. Okay. What time is it? Because 4:46. Oh, good Lord. I have way too many things to look at. So Priscilla and I have already had a very lengthy conversation about this on Facebook. And we're still sisters. And I think we still want the same thing. We want, I could be wrong. I've been wrong. Let me share something with you. Oh, before I do that, I want to share this. This is actually pretty dang important. Pretty dang important. So Americans urged to cancel surgeries in Mexico border city after meningitis cases, including one death. And this is in Matamoros. People who cross the border. So it says state and federal health officials warning U.S. residents to cancel planned surgeries in a Mexico border city after 5 people from Texas developed suspected cases of fungal meningitis. And that is in the border city of Matamoros, Texas. 5 people. And so, a lot of people cross the border to get less expensive health care. And then things happen. I mean, I don't know I don't know. Do you know? Would you feel safe? Would I feel safe crossing into Mexico for a major surgery? Hell no. I wouldn't do that anywhere. Well, maybe a couple countries. There's a couple countries because there's some good healthcare out there. I'm not necessarily 100% that Mexico is the place I would go for those surgeries where they stick needles in your spine. I'm just saying, I don't know. I don't think so. Does that mean all of Mexico has no good health care? Absolutely not. I would just be super careful about sticking needles in my spine because I've had my spine, So that's important thing right there. All righty. So I guess we're going to go to we've already talked macro. We're going to go, or micro, we're going to talk macro. Some macro news. Macro news. It's coming, guys. All right, so I think this is a pretty important story. I'll go back down. U.S. border communities declared disasters as Title 42's expiration sets the stage for migration rush. All right, so as I've explained on my Facebook posts, that so these communities are affected pretty dramatically when there is a, they're affected pretty dramatically no matter what. I know that Yuma, Arizona has been having problems in their hospitals because what will happen to the point of imploding. There's been many stories on that. Does that mean that we see those stories in Eugene, Oregon? It does not. We may see them if we're watching national news, but other than that, how will you know? Anyways, they have had some pretty dramatic issues related to healthcare in hospitals in Yuma as a result of being a border town. And so it trickles. So you get a bunch of people cross the border by the thousands, let's say, and they are here and they need healthcare. In this case, since I'm talking about the healthcare in Yuma, they struggled because, first of all, there's stuff that's already scheduled. So I'm just like, I don't know how much schedules, but let's say in a hospital on a daily basis, there is a 2/3, 3/4, whatever, 3/5. I don't even know what 3/5 is, but you have a pretty full hospital, and you get people for whatever the reason from out of the country that don't have any health care, don't have any money. They come into this country in an illegal manner, and they need health care. They're hurt. They're injured. Let's say they were in a car crash, all right, in the United States. So we're obliged, and rightly so, to take care of people in crisis. Of course, you don't let people dangle out there. But the trickle-down effect, let's talk trickle-down economics, people. Trickle-down effect of that is they become more affected. Let's say there's a huge need, crisis need. There are many people who've had to have their what are called elective surgeries, which my back surgery, my little sister's husband's shoulder replacements, my knee replacements, Richard's, those are considered elective. Those we've had things postponed during COVID. Lots of people had to have things things postponed in Yuma. And I'm assuming I'm just gonna say assuming, we're careful with that, but other border cities. And Yuma's not teeny tiny town. And yet the illegal immigration has highly affected the medical situation there. So it affects other people. It affects, maybe you're waiting to go back to work until you have to have some surgery done and it gets put off and put off and put off, and you can't go back to work. The trickle down effect is pretty obvious, I think, if people want to be real about it. And it's not micro, it's very large. Okay, so when tens of thousands of migrants masked the northern Mexico with expiration overnight of the U.S. COVID era border restriction policy known as 42 has American border community. So lots of people, tens of thousands were on the border. The mayor of Laredo, we're boarding up. I love this. We're boarding up like there's a hurricane coming. Victor Trevino, the mayor of Laredo, Texas, told CNN Thursday evening. Why do you think that is? You know, they've had issues, they've had problems. So I'm going to scroll down to where I was. They know that there was 10,000 people waiting in Ciudad Juarez and another 5,000 at Matamoros. And then the say earlier in the week, about 500 in Tijuana. You know, when we went into Tijuana many, many years ago, 30 years ago, 29 years ago, we walked across the border. We did not have, no, we drove in. We didn't even have passports. I now know I'm lucky to get back in the United States. No, they just looked at our driver's licenses and we were good to go. So anyways, as of Friday afternoon, this is last Friday, there was about 23,400 migrants in the Border Patrol custody. It was a little less than they anticipated, but that's good. And in El Paso, about 1,000 migrants waited. So let's move forward. So we know that it's real. We know these people are there. We know they want to come in here. And in my conversation, and I'm not looking at my stream right now. Please be patient with me. I better look and see who's there. Richard Lake is there. Smoky Mountain Blessed. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for coming in. So what happened? So what's happened is and I'm going to get rid of that one because what I'm going to talk about now. So what's happened is Texas, and I know that believe Arizona's done this too. So Texas and Arizona, New Mexico and California, they're the ones who get the border crossings. Illegal and legal, that's where it happens. Those states. They don't necessarily ask for people. As a matter of fact, they don't want them here because they don't have a place for them. And many of those border towns are very small to start with. And then you get thousands of people crossing maybe in a day's time, or people coming across on someone's in an illegal manner, coming across through people's property, trampling it, tearing up their fencing. Of course, I know why. I know in most cases why. Do I think that every single person coming into this country is a criminal? Absolutely not. Legal or illegal. Many people come in legally that are criminals, okay, and have bad intentions. But when we have a border that is not closed solidly tight, we don't know who's coming in. And they have caught terrorists. They just caught someone on the terrorist watch list. So, and then there are people legitimately, what's the right word? Critically, it's critical for them to get out of their country. So I understand that. I understand that. But there's a way to do it. I will not ever agree that we should just willy-nilly allow people to walk across the border. That it's not safe for them, by the way, because let's add in the trafficking. So in this country, when we allow that to continue, unwittingly we become partners with traffickers. We become partners with people who are going to have the person, hey, I'm happy to have that cheap labor come in here. I'm happy to have that person come in and work in my house for a lot less than what I would be paying ABC house care worker. You know what I'm saying? And in many ways, they become indentured slaves in this country. And many are. They actually have to work for a certain amount of money before they are let off the hook by the smugglers. That is not, that's not okay. So we become a partner with those type of people. So let me move on to New York. By Smoky Mountain, so glad that you stopped in. So let me move on to New York. So in New York, and this was the ABC news that I was going to share. So here's what's happened in New York City. Oopsie, New York City. Okay. Okay, so before I share this, so New York City has gotten a lot of busloads. Has gotten some busloads from Texas. The reason I was mentioning the border states is because they're required then to eventually, to take care of the people who are there. They don't have a choice. They have no choice in the matter, and it's breaking their systems. Their systems are being smushed. It costs money to take care of people. That's where my side of it is that we not only want to have people be here, and yes, by the way, my family immigrated, part of my family immigrated from Scotland, Ireland, and other parts in Europe, European continent. And so but to the best of my knowledge and that I can tell, ours came over in a legal manner. All right, so I'm going to move. So New York City, all these immigrants get bused there. And New York City is completely, as far as they can, the mayor is saying they're full. The door is shut. We have no place in New York City to put another person who needs taken care of. And here's one of the consequences. So New York City turns to school gyms to house new immigrants, prompting uproar. They are putting asylum seekers who they don't even know that they're going to be allowed. As a matter of fact, most people seeking asylum don't get asylum because they're not actually, by the definition of what the United States Congress has defined, they're not asylum seekers. They're putting them in school gyms. They're living in these school gyms. Here's one of the ladies who is not happy about it. She's got children in school. It says here, New York City has begun to convert public school gymnasiums into housing for international migrants. Its latest effort to accommodate growing population of asylum seekers who have overwhelmed the city's homeless shelter system. The move to use the gyms as shelters with 6 weeks still in school has touched off an immediate backlash with parents organizing protests at several schools and threatening to keep their kids home once migrants arrive. So I would keep my child home. Here's the reason, people. They do not know at this point who people are yet. And by the way, most of the people who are waiting by far are single males. Do I think all single males waiting at the border or even, whatever are violent, potentially harmful people? Hell no. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Can there be one? Could there be one wrong person in that group of people? And are you willing to send your child and your grandchildren and your nieces and nephews to school knowing there can be one wrong person? We already struggle with making sure our kids safe with our own people. So I would keep my child home too. I would never trust that at all. So here's one of my questions. If they're going to put these people there, why have not they put our American veterans who are on the streets in New York City there? If they're willing to put illegal migrants in that gymnasium, those gymnasiums, plural, why has not it been an option for American service people? That's a question that's rhetorical because you don't have the answer. I understand that. But maybe somebody will think about that. That's real. That's very. How about the parents and their children who end up on the streets in New York City? What about putting them there? You know, if it's a real option. And I find in this article from ABC News, I have to share this with you. They're putting cots in there, rations of food, blah blah blah. Happening in Chicago too. There have been 9,000 people arriving since August in Chicago. There is something here, though, in this article that it's just, you'll know. And by the way, in New York City, there is a court-ordered mandate that guarantees all people a right to shelter. So that's one of those things. When you give it as a right, you better be able to back that right up. All right. They're even in a New York City Police Academy. All right. Let's see. It's a really important part of this article. Everything that I've shared with you is already in my description. Here's one other thing. A self-identified progressive, Steino, said she wants to help migrants, but couldn't understand the decision to take away space from school kids. How about this idea? She says, how about city-owned community centers and college campuses and Armory empty luxury condos? There are some ideas. See, she had some ideas. That's what I'm saying. People better come up with some ideas or you're going to get railroaded, and that's not fair. And then something that the mayor said, and to moving them into places that are typically used before, like buildings, tents, gyms, we have much greater level of concern. And Adams, the city of New York mayor, repeatedly said New York, a city long known for its openness to immigrants, of course, and obviously, has reached its limit on new arrivals. Guess who he's asking for help? Anybody want to throw out an idea? And I am being sarcastic. I can't help it. Really, the federal government. Okay, the largest city as far as population, New York City, by far, in this country, has no place for this situation to be continuing. And he's asking the federal government. It would be nice, it would have been useful and helpful if maybe the federal government would have, hello, Nancy Drew. Thank you for coming. I appreciate you stopping in. The federal government had cared enough to use FEMA to deal with this, rather than expect states like New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, and California to burden their systems with the massive influx of people that we have today. Not just the ones that are coming in this immediate time, but over the last number of years. Why have they not, the federal government, set up really efficient places and start dealing with, because does anybody have any thoughts on why the federal government's not doing that? I don't think that's Lucretia's position at all. Okay. Oh my God, we send kids to school every single day, knowing they could be victims of government. Priscilla, okay. So here's where this is called apples and oranges, and that you're right. Apples and oranges. Here's an apple. Here's an apple. It's the gun person a gunman. I'll use the word man. I don't necessarily think obviously there was just recently a woman. A gunman goes into a school, into a mall, into a church, into a whatever. We have never seen this person before in our life. And they do the horrors that they do. Orange. Here's an orange. The orange is standing on the border of America and Mexico. And we see 10, 20, 40,000 people. One's an apple. We have no clue who that person is and where they're coming from. We don't even know they're coming today. Thank God there's nobody today. Oh, other than Eugene, one of our high schools has had 3 bomb threats in recent days. They're way far away from where I live. They're on the other side of town, actually completely south of me. But how many people would a bomb kill? Like I was just telling you the other day, ironically, people are going to turn to other things. So anyways, that's another real conversation. I don't want to get off track. So apples, we have no idea who the person is. We don't even know they're coming. We don't see them. They are in the dark. There is a light on the orange, and we can see that there's 40,000 of them, or 10,000, or 5,000. That's the difference. That is an apples and oranges conversation. And it doesn't work for this particular one. Now, at another time, we can have the other conversation, but it doesn't make any sense in this. So if you would be comfortable sending your 2 sweet little grand boys to school with a gym full of people, of adults, you have no idea who they are because they came from nowhere, and they have nothing but what's on their back. You would be comfortable sending them to school? I would not. And again, it's not because I believe every single person coming into this country illegally is a criminal or a potential villain of any sort, because that's just not true. Statistics don't even show that. That's not even really what it's about. It's about resources. But all it takes, as you know, is one person. And if I have control of making sure that one person doesn't come through a gate with 10,000 others, till I know who they are, and we do a legal processing, no, absolutely not. No, thank you. So that's my position. Now, if that doesn't make sense, I get it. Right. Yes, passing the buck is not good. It's not useful. This is where we're at today. They have had I was reading, there's been no real immigration policies, new policies in 20 years. Nothing that, or it needs to be redone. There's no question. I think everybody knows that at this point. There needs to be some work done on that. As far as I know, no one is keeping track of the people being dropped off. Inter-organized gangs, that's right. So we know for a fact MS-13 has come up through this process. There's no question about that. We have caught them. They have caught them at the border. They've caught them inside this country after they've killed people, after they have maimed people. Look it up. It's not questionable. It's not questionable. They are here, and they did not come on a plane with their ticket that says I'm MS-13 and I'm coming here to, again, proper language, to affect negative outcome on your country. That's true. Now, do I think there's people, again, so I'm on both sides. Do I think there's people that need immediate asylum? Absolutely, I do. 100%. So you put in place before they come into this country, you have You work with Mexico to have an office there in order to start screening people. You screen people first before they come across the border. I don't know how come for so many people that seems like they're there's an aversion to that, to knowing who these groups, like it's not 3 people, it's not a family. The majority of the people coming across are single adult males between 25 and 60. It is the working age. Granted that. It's the age of serial killers in this country. That's a serial killer age too. I'm not saying there's serial killers coming. I'm saying it's an age bracket of single men that, if it were single women, I don't care. I've watched videos where women, when in the Middle East, set their bodies off in a bomb to kill American soldiers. So, because, we have more sympathy for women for the most part, and our men and women are trained to, be more sympathetic. And on many occasions, a female in these other countries would have approached our bases and our men and women who are out in the field and blown themselves up and killed these other people along with them. So, MS-13 firmly entrenched in New York and California for decades. Absolutely. And that's not the only, but MS-13 is an especially gruesome group of people. And I'm not going to go into their stories here because I think most people have read about them. They're vile, and they like to kill in the most vile of vicious ways. All right. I believe the biggest problem is they want an inclusive immigration policy instead of tackling it smaller issue at a time. So that might be true. I mean, I'm not saying that that's not true. So I think one thing they could do, so I believe that the people who came here as children 20 years ago, absolutely, they need to be on the fast track to American citizenship. They've been here since they were children. It was not their fault. I support that. Always have supported that to the best of my memory. So I believe that those people need to be fast tracked to citizenship, but it needs to get done. Okay. There should be no reason people are holding off on that. Maybe MS-13 came in through one of the 100 of underground. Absolutely. So if we can't get something, so there is technology, and I've watched them do this. There's technology from the air. From the air, they can see tunnels underneath the ground. If it's not important enough for our federal government to start doing that, who's going to do it, Priscilla? You tell me. If our government isn't willing to do that, don't you think maybe they've got something, they've got a dog in the fight they don't want to talk about? There's nothing else I can think of because the technology is there. Those need to be shut down. They need to be blown up, or they need to be completely sealed from the inside with cement, something. Yes, it should have. Charlotte, I can't, still to this day, don't understand why it's not. If I had been in a position to run for office, I would have run for office. And that's something I was supported and been an independent. I can't run for office. I'm not going to ever run for office, but I can tell you, I would have solved a couple things. Nate Dog Adams. Well, hello to you, Nate. So glad you've joined us. Who has an aversion to screening migrants? No one I know. No, I was talking about, please, this about the majority of people. Okay. I can't in this moment, but it will go into my, I'm going to put your comment up here. And I'm also going to write it down. I will put it in my notes, in my description. Okay. Site number of male. Okay. I know what I'm talking about. All right. So I will do that. I don't have it on hand, but I will do that. I don't have any problem with doing that, Priscilla, especially because I never want people to think I'm saying stuff just to say it. And I don't think you do. I don't know everybody, and I want to be firm about that. If I say something, I have read it from a reputable source. Now, I've showed you stuff from a multitude of news sources, and I have a bunch of other stuff I'm not going to be able to get to today, or I'm not going to get to where I need to go by 6 o'clock. Immigrants shouldn't be afraid to declare themselves and work to become productive citizens. Absolutely not. Should not, Kaylee. So I have to go because I have to be somewhere at 6 or before 6. And so it's pretty important for me. But I hope that this, I hope that people know. I want to go, before we leave, I'm going to go check my, all my questions here. I'm real curious. Do you believe the border with Mexico is secure? 6% yes, and 75% no, and 19% for open borders. I want to write that down. 6, 75, and 19. Yay, nay, and open borders. All right. I wanted to check that out because sometimes I don't always get these things checked out by the end of the stream. And I wanted to see what it was today. Van City Adventure, thank you for coming. Thank you. I am very happy you're here. We are just getting ready to leave because I have to go and be someplace at 6 o'clock. But I do appreciate everybody who came. I'm glad that you stayed. It looks like we lost 1 or 2 or 20, but that's okay. I'm not on here for that. Don't tell Alex that because I have gotten more. Okay. I have gotten more lectures from my 33-year-old son about what I need to be doing on YouTube to increase my channel. Well, he's been on here a very short time and he's up to 4,600. So I don't know what, I'm not on it for that reason. I told him, maybe I'm not on it for that. I enjoy what I do. I know that I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I'm not my husband's cup of tea sometimes. So imagine. So there he's saying goodbye, as a matter of fact. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody being here. Thank you, Kaylee. Y'all are fabulous. And I just hope that you will think about some of this stuff. And it was a good conversation. And eventually I'm going to get my little sister up here with her icon over her face and have, because she's got great ideas, good information, great ideas. And you will, it would be a good conversation. And so anybody else who ever has an interest in talking about this. All right. I love you guys. Stay healthy, stay safe, and please, truthfully, find whatever is your passion. I don't know what it is, but you do. Find it, figure it out, make it happen because there is nobody else going to do that for you. Have a great night.